This video is an overview of the image toolbar in IRSA Viewer and some of the other tools that have the same look and feel. This will also cover some of the basic image navigation tips and tricks. I'm going to tackle most of these topics, not necessarily in the order in which they appear, but in the order of complexity, because it will be easier to understand some of the tools that way. When you have IRSA Viewer loaded with many images, the image toolbar appears here in the upper right, but there's other useful things in the upper left and down at the bottom. If you have images and catalogs loaded, the image toolbar appears in the upper right of the images window pane, right next to where you need them if you're going to be working with the images. The useful information then appears at the bottom of the image window pane. When you have many images loaded in, either in this view or this way, the default is to show them all at once. You can also view them one at a time. When you have many images loaded and you are viewing them one at a time, you can scroll through the entire list by hand and the dot shows you where you are in that list. Or you can ask it to autoplay and scroll on its own through that list. You can also jump within the list to items in the list. I often find it most useful to view them all at once. If you toggle Scroll Images, then it gives you a larger view of each of the images, and you can literally scroll through the list. A potential gotcha, though, is that if you are using your mouse to scroll, if you happen to have your mouse on top of a selected image, then the mouse, instead of scrolling, will zoom. So when you're scrolling, you need to make sure that your mouse isn't over one of the selected images. Let's go back to the smaller view. This icon gives you a list of all the images you have loaded. The tables in these tools are Firefly tables, and they're all searchable and sortable. So if I sort this list by wavelength, it also sorts the images I have loaded by wavelength, which is useful for examining the same object across many different wavelengths. Down at the bottom, you get a real-time readout of the value below your cursor. You can see it's got the coordinates and the value of the pixel in whatever units are provided by the data provider of that image. Let's get this icon, which gives us a view of what portion of the image we have from the selected image, which is here outlined in brown. But it also gives us an enlarged view underneath the cursor and shows us in more detail the value underneath the cursor. You can change the units that it shows. If you'd rather have decimal degrees, you can do that. Instead of image pixels, let's do 1 in sexagesimal and 1 in decimal. I have to stop moving my mouse for it to give me the value underneath the cursor. If I toggle the click lock, then when I click on the image, it will give me the value underneath the cursor and stop dynamically updating. This icon means copy this value to the clipboard. If I change this readout from verbatim to the AstroPi sky coordinate value, then when I click copy, it will give me on the clipboard the values in a format that Python is expecting. Let's toggle off the click lock and put away that pop-up. The click lock toggle is also down here if you'd rather not use the pop-up. Okay, let's go over to the upper right. All of the images I have loaded are of the same piece of the sky. At the moment, it's pretty zoomed in. I can use the mouse to zoom, or I can use these icons. They are all of the same portion of the sky. If I go over to this lock icon, I can align just once by WCS, in other words, World Coordinate System position on the sky, by target, by pixel origin, or image center. Or I can align and lock by those same values. If I align and lock by WCS, now all of the images are aligned north, up, east, left, together by color table. So that if I zoom in one image, I can change the color table for one, and all of them change. I can also change the bias and the contrast of the color table. I can also change the color stretch. These are quick change color stretch options. If I change this, then those options change as well. Right now it's linear. If I change it to Z-scale log stretch, they all change, and now those change. I put it back as linear, then linear stretch to 99 is what it started with. I can also get a pop-up that has a histogram of the values for the selected image, and I can more interactively change the stretch of that image. I can have it give me the values in percent, data values, or sigma. Let's put that away. Of the other zoom icons that are available here, that zooms in, that zooms out, that zooms to fit, that zooms to fill the frame horizontally, and this one zooms to fit the pixel scale of the image to the pixel scale of the monitor. Let's put it back so that it fills the frame horizontally. This toolbox has a lot of choices. This one saves the current image. I can save the current image as a FITS file. I can save the current view as a PNG file, which means the stretch and the overlays, or I can save just the overlays as a region file. I can save it to my local disk, or I can save it to the IRSA workspace. At the moment, the only overlays we have is the target crosshairs there. We'll add some more overlays shortly. This restores everything to the defaults. This gives us the FITS header of the selected image. Like all the other tables, this is searchable and sortable. So if you're looking for a particular keyword, if you click on that, it'll sort the keywords, and you can also filter this if you're looking for a particular keyword. If you go here again, this one will rotate the image to an angle of your choosing. All of them right now are north up. This is a quick north up. This flips the image on the y-axis. This adds a compass rose. This adds a coordinate grid. This allows you to measure a distance on the image. Now we've added some more layers. If you go over to the layers icon, it shows you all the layers you have added. This is the compass rose. This is the coordinate grid. That's the distance tool. We can change the distance tool to measure in arc seconds, arc minutes, degrees, or even pixels. Let's put it back on degrees. We can have it do an offset calculation as well. We can end the distance tool by clicking on this, or literally by removing it. We can also remove the coordinate grid. Let's leave the compass rose for now. We go up here. We can load in a DS9 regions file that we have from disk. We can also add a marker. If you just want to add a regular marker, it can just be a circle that you can click and drag or resize. You can also, however, plan observations or add footprints from past observations. So if you'd like to add a JWST NearCam field of view, you can do that. Let's remove some of these layers, the JWST and the marker and the compass rose. The extraction is actually pretty nifty. At the moment, I only have basically single plane images loaded, but we can still extract a line from these images. So if I draw a line across the core of the galaxy, that's the brightness profile along that line. Then if I shift click to the other images, it's that same line profile from all of these other images. If I want to retain those values, I can pin the chart and the table. I can download that table, or I can download the chart. At the moment, because I want to keep this video focused on images, I'm not going to pin it or save it. I can also extract individual points. It works the same way. I can click and have it save all of the points that I'm clicking in the image, and I can download those values as a table. I have some control over the aperture that it's using. Let me get rid of that. Okay, the drill extract makes more sense when you have a dense data cube, in which case you can poke or drill through a cube and extract fluxes that way, but I don't have any data cubes loaded currently. We've already covered the color table and the color stretch. What this does is control exactly how the images move. This part makes more sense if I have catalogs loaded. So if I zoom in really far on any of these images and then click on a source in the catalog, the images move to center the object that I'm selecting. It works this way too. If I select from the plot, then the images jump to center on the object that I'm selecting. So that's what Pan by Table Row does. You can also ask it to center on the target that you searched on, or center the image, or center on a position that you enter. This allows you to select a cone or a rectangle. Let's click and drag. Now we have additional choices. We can crop the image, zoom on the image, recenter the image, get statistics on the region that I've delineated, or do additional things such as a catalog search, or search Ned, or search Sinbad, or do additional fits searches, hips searches, searching Sophia, or searching Wise. Let's end that. The layers we've already talked about. All the additional layers you add to the image can be shown here. You can also change symbols and colors from the layers. Then the align and lock choices we've also already covered. So this has been a quick overview of the choices. Don't forget too that there's online help that has lots of information about the image toolbar as well.